Hello, how's it going, everybody? Today, we are jumping into Revelation chapter 13. I'm being optimistic and saying we're going to get through 14. Yesterday, we only got through 12. So we'll see how it goes. Let me just make sure I'm not lagging here. Okay, no lag. Let me get the text up and all that, and we can get going here. All right, and let's get rid of this green screen. Okay. There we go. Well, let's see this here real quick. That make it worse or better? I think that made it worse. What if I just do this? Sorry about this. We'll just keep it at this. Okay, there you go. All right. So let's jump into this chapter 13. The beast from the sea. Yesterday we were talking about a different beast. We were talking about a beast with 7 heads and 7 horns. Wait. What was it? No, it was 10 horns, 7 heads, and 7 crowns, right? And we were thinking that was referring to Satan. And this looks like it's going to be a different beast, the beast from the sea. So let's get the volume up and let's get going here.
Then I stood on the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rising up out of the sea.
Immediately evoking imagery from Daniel's vision. A beast rising up from the sea.
Having 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his horns 10 crowns, and on his heads a blasphemous name.
7 heads, 10 horns, and 10 crowns. The beast from chapter 12 was a red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns. They see this is different. So we had 7 heads, 10 horns, and 7 crowns. This is 7 heads, 10 horns, and 10 crowns. So the difference being 10 crowns. And in chapter 12, wait, no. Seven heads, 10 horns, 10 crowns. 7 heads, 10 horns, 7 crowns. Okay, that's the difference. Chapter 12 is 7 crowns, and 13 is 10 crowns. So what do these crowns symbolize? We talked a bit about that yesterday. We'll go over it again. Let's see. Let's do 13. The description of the first beast, 7 heads, 10 horns, 10 crowns, is very, very similar to the great dragon that is Satan in chapter 12, verse 3. Whereas the crowns on the heads of the dragon, they are on the horns of the sea beast. It doesn't say that specifically, but you can sort of connect the dots there, right? Because you have the crowns. There's 7 crowns and 7 heads. You would put the crown on the head. But now there's 10 crowns and 7 heads, but 10 horns. So maybe the crowns were on the horns in this case. The 7-headed beast may refer to Gentile world power as it relates to Israel, especially in the end times. The heads are identified both as mountains and as rulers. A mountain is typically a symbol for a kingdom. The 7 heads could be Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, Greece, Persia, Rome, and a restored Roman Empire. The 10 horns may signify the final form of Gentile world power. The beast receives his power and authority from the dragon. The parallel to 4 beasts, especially the 4th in Daniel 7, and the explanation of the beast given in chapter 17, verse 8 to 11, make it seem that the beast symbolizes both the revived Roman Empire, which exercises universal authority, and a specific rule whom John calls the Antichrist in chapter 2, verse 18 of 1 John. I shouldn't have read all that. I don't want to read a commentary before I read the actual text. Let's go. Let's start up here.
And I saw a beast rising up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his horns 10 crowns, and on his heads a blasphemous name. Now the beast which I saw was like a leopard. His feet were like the feet of a bear, and his mouth like the mouth of a lion. The dragon gave him his power, his throne.
And I saw one of his heads as if it had been mortally wounded, and his deadly wound was healed. All the world marveled and followed the beast. Oh, wait, we didn't even get to that yet. Now the beast, which I saw like a leopard, his feet. It's interesting. It's like an amalgamation of the beasts in Daniel's vision. So you have these 4 individual beasts, and then now they are coming together as one. That's an iguanodon from... It reminds me of comparing Ezekiel's vision to John's vision. How John, the living creatures were individual. You had one face for each creature. Yet in Ezekiel's vision, each of the living creatures had multiple faces, right? I'm pointing to this, but I'm not really meaning this. I can pull up that. Right, he had the face of an ox, face of a man, face of an eagle, and face of a lion. Okay? But in John, they were like this. You had one, a lion, ox, man, eagle. But this is what it looked like in Ezekiel. You had all 4 on one. So it's reminding me of that, right? Because let's see, the beast in Revelation 13. You see what I'm saying? It's like an amalgamation of the beasts in Daniel. Now the beast which I saw was like a leopard. Let me pull this up. Beast in Daniel's vision. Now the beast which I saw was like a leopard. Well, that couldn't be opened. Let's sort of grayed out. Let's find another one. Okay, so the beasts which I saw were like a leopard, which would be Greece in Daniel's vision. His feet were like the feet of a bear, which was the Medo-Persian Empire in Daniel's vision. And these are interpretations, right? We discussed this, how there are multiple interpretations of this. But this is the most common interpretation of Daniel's vision. And his mouth, like the mouth of a lion, which was the Babylonian Empire. And the dragon, we're missing, then the Roman Empire, I'm sorry. The dragon gave him his power, his throne, and great authority. The dragon, I'm assuming that is the dragon that we talked about in chapter 12. So there is no Roman Empire in part of this beast. The dragon gave him power and his throne and great authority. And I saw one of his. Okay, let me pull up a commentary here. I'm curious to see what other people think about this, how they interpret this. How did they compare the beast in Daniel's vision to the beasts in John's vision here in chapter 13 of Revelation? In Revelation 12, John's vision mainly had a view in heaven. Now the scene of his vision shifted to the earth, and in his vision, he stood on the sand of the sea. Okay, that could be important, because if the vision in chapter 12 had a vision from heaven, we're talking about the fall of Satan, right? Satan is a heavenly being. And now we're looking at a vision from the sea on earth. So these are it's an earthly beast. It comes from the earth. It doesn't come from above. Many people today love the sea, but as a whole, the Jewish people in biblical times regarded the sea as wild, untamed, and a frightening place. While ancient Israel under Solomon had a navy, Hiram, the king of Tyre, supplied the sailors. The sea was a figure of evil and chaos that seemed to resist God, though the resistance was unsuccessful. From the place identified with evil and chaos and resisting God, a beast comes forth. The ancient Greek word translated beast here has the idea of a wild, dangerous animal, because John calls him a beast and not a dragon, as in Revelation 12. This creature represents someone distinct from Satan, who is represented by the dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Though this beast is distinct from the dragon of Revelation 12, he's still closely identified with him. He is not the dragon, but he is like him, because the dragon also had 7 heads and 10 horns. Any creature with 7 heads would be hard to kill, because if you wound 1 head, 6 still remained. In biblical imagery, horns express strength and power. A bull with 2 horns is a powerful creature, but a beast with 10 has much more power, just like the dragon of Revelation 12. So is this beast more powerful than Satan? Because the dragon, if that symbolizes Satan, that had 7 horns. This beast has 10. The likeness to Satan is just one of the things that identifies this beast with the one popularly known as the Antichrist. The word Antichrist only appears in the Bible 5 times in 4 verses. 1 John 2:18 is a good example. Little children, it is the last hour, and as you have heard that the Antichrist is coming. With this, John referred to an individual who has captured the imagination of many people. Some who didn't even know the Bible, some who don't even know the Bible, but many are ignorant about this person called the Antichrist, except what they have learned from movies like The Omen. Never seen The Omen? We can begin by understanding what the title Antichrist means. The prefix anti means the opposite of, or instead of. The Antichrist is the opposite Jesus. He is the instead of Jesus. Most people have focused on the idea of the opposite Jesus. This has made them think that the Antichrist will appear as a supremely evil person. That as much as Jesus went around doing good, he will go around doing bad. But as much as Jesus' character and personality was beautiful and attractive, the Antichrist character and personality will be ugly and repulsive. As much as Jesus spoke only truth, the Antichrist will speak only lies. This emphasizes the idea of the opposite Jesus too much. The Antichrist will instead be more of an instead of Jesus. He will look wonderful, be charming and successful. He will be the ultimate winner and appear as an angel of light. In this sense, the Antichrist will be a satanic Messiah instead of the true Messiah, Jesus Christ. In 1 John 2:18, John also spoke of the Antichrist and many Antichrists. There is a spirit of Antichrist, and this spirit of Antichrist will one day find its ultimate fulfillment in the Antichrist, who will lead humanity in the end times rebellion against God. In other words, though the world still waits to see the ultimate revelation of the Antichrist, there are little previews of this man and his mission to come. These are the Antichrists with a little a. Though we commonly call this coming world leader the Antichrist, the Bible gives him many names and titles. He is known as the little horn of Daniel 7:8, the king of fierce countenance of Daniel 8:23, the prince that shall come of Daniel 9:26, the willful king, Daniel 11, the one who comes in his own name of John 5, whom Israel will receive as a Messiah, the son of perdition, the man of sin, the lawless one of 2 Thessalonians. We gotta take time and break down all of this. And on his horns, 10 crowns. This is something different about the beast compared to the dragon of Revelation 12:13, who had 7 diadems or crowns on his head. The 7 crowns of the dragon expressed his strength and power because 7 is a number associated with strength and completeness. The 10 crowns of the beast express his rule over a group of 10 nations. Okay. This is their explanation. Remember that. Most commentators think that the 10 horns are distributed among the 7 heads, but David Hawking sees all 10 horns upon one of the heads, the figure of 10 horns, or you could see the 10 horns on the crowns, as my Bible thought. The figure of 10 horns also associates this beast with the beast of Daniel 7:7, which represent the final world empire of the Antichrist, which the Messiah will ultimately conquer. And here in Daniel it says, Daniel 7:7, after this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible, exceedingly strong. It had huge iron teeth. It was devouring, breaking in pieces, and trampling the residue with its feet. It was different from all the beasts than that were before it. It had 10 horns. The thing is, this beast seems to be a combination of the first 4 beasts. And Daniel's vision is talking about the 5th beast, which is like a dragon. In Daniel's vision, the 10 horns specifically represented 10 kingdoms that this final world dictator has authority over. In John's vision, the 10 crowns on the 10 horns emphasize this idea. That's what they're thinking. The vision of Daniel 7 and Daniel 2 also connect the governments represented by the 10 crowns with the ancient Roman Empire. In those visions, Daniel saw 3 successive world empires, each succeeded by a 4th, which in the context of the visions is plainly the Roman Empire. In the day that the 4th empire, the Messiah, will come, destroy all earthly rule and reign over the earth. Since we do not see the reign of Jesus on earth in the way Daniel prophesied, we can see the Roman Empire will resume in some way, expressed by a collection of 10 crowns. So if the crowns are nations, or kingdoms, which ones? On his head of a and on his heads a blasphemous name. The 7 heads of the beast each advertise blasphemy against God. So it does look very different than the beast of Daniel. The dragon in Revelation 12 and the beast of Revelation 13. Look, this stuff looks like it could be some sort of fantasy novel, you know? Let me keep going here for a bit.
And his mouth like the mouth of a lion. The dragon gave him his power, his throne, and great authority. And I saw
the dragon, so if the dragon represents Satan, gave authority to the beast, the Antichrist.
One of his heads as if it had been mortally wounded, and his deadly wound was healed, and all the world marveled and followed the beast. So they worshipped the dragon.
And I saw one of his heads as if it had been mortally wounded, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world marveled and followed the beast. So they saw this healing and they followed the beast. But see, like Jesus healed others, this beast is healing itself and the world marveled. A selfish act and the world marveled.
Who gave authority to the beast, and they worshipped the beast.
Who is like the beast? Who is able to make war with him?
They're attracted to his power. So let's break down the animals. Like a leopard, a bear, a lion. In this vision, God used images from Daniel's vision of Daniel 7 to communicate the identity and nature of this beast. So it's a collection of the empires from Daniel's vision. Are those empires going to be reborn and come together in the end time? Something like that. I'm not sure. Daniel 7 used 4 animals to describe the course of human government from Daniel's time until the ultimate reign of Jesus on this earth. The first 3 animals are a lion, a bear, and a leopard. The 4th animal was a dreadful, indescribable beast which shared the most terrifying characteristics of the previous beasts, yet represents the final world empire under the leadership of a satanic dictator. John presents this beast as the extension of the 4th beast of Daniel 7. I don't know, because this is more like a leopard, connecting his empire with the characteristics of the great empires of the past. This final empire would have the cat-like vigilance of a leopard, a slow and crushing power of a bear, and the authority of the fierceness of the authority and ferociousness of a lion. Since the beasts of Daniel 7's represented empires more than specific men, some have thought the beast of Revelation 13 is not a person, but a government or a cultural system. That makes sense. Many believe the beast is a broad picture of totalitarian governments, especially the totalitarian states of the 20th century. For example, Mounce writes, "The beast has always been and will always be, in a final intensified manifestation, the deification of secular authority." But others see the beast as a person, specifically the Antichrist. the final satanic dictator who leads the world in rebellion against God. Some, like David Hawking, combine the approaches and say that the beast is a modern world totalitarian government, but the one head that has 10 horns is specifically the Antichrist. So we were seeing that in the commentary. Some think that all the horns are on one head. Some think that there's a horn for each head. Well, 7 heads in this case, so maybe 3 horns on one. The leader of this beast, of a final satanic dictatorship. Okay. The Antichrist, the leader of the beast of a final satanic dictatorship. But with any empire, especially brief empires, the government is almost totally identified with the ruler. When we think of Germany in the 1930s and 40s, the figures of Adolf Hitler as an individual and Nazi Germany as a state are virtually the same. Now the beast which I saw, all the indications in Revelation 13 are that the beast is a man, though he is closely identified with his world-dominating government. So, like their example, Hitler is associated with all of Nazi Germany. But when you think Nazi Germany, you think Hitler, right? So in this case, maybe something's happening in the same way here. The beast is worshipped as God, but people never worship an empire as such. Neither do they make a succession of emperors into an object of religious devotion. The paying of divine homage to kings has been a common thing in the world's history, but it has always been rendered to individuals. Maybe you could be showing loyalty or patriotism towards a nation, but to an extreme. An image is set up of the beast, and the whole world is commanded to worship it. Yeah, so it makes more sense that it is an individual, not a nation. I think. We'll see. This makes far more sense if the beast is a man more than an empire or government. Through history, men have often bowed down to an image of a political ruler. This beast also had a proper name, a name expressive of a particular number, and that number, a number of a man, which cannot be conceived except on the idea of an individual person. Or could it be a number of a man, like an earthly kingdom, a human kingdom, not a heavenly, celestial, godly kingdom? This beast is finally damned. He goes to perdition, into the lake of fire, where he continues to exist and suffer after passing from this earthly scene, which cannot be true of systems of government. I see. Okay. The Antichrist is also called the son of perdition, as was Judas. Judas was a man, not a system or government. So it follows that the Antichrist will also be a man. Okay. With all this in mind, we agree with Seiss. We would therefore greatly err from the scriptures, as well as from the unanimous conviction and teaching of the early church, were we to fail to recognize this beast as a real person, though one in whom the political power of the world is finally concentrated and represented. What do you guys think? Do you think the Antichrist is a system or a government, a kingdom, or is it an individual? This world leader is really empowered and supported by Satan. Through this man, Satan will express his own desire and authority. And this, the beast takes the offer that Jesus refused. The beast is not an ordinary man. He is called the beast that ascends out of the bottomless pit. The bottomless pit that an angel opened, right? When they finish their testimony, the beast that ascends out of the bottomless pit will make war against them, overcome them, and kill them. That's where the locust came out of, right? The bottomless pit may be associated with a place called Tartarus. This is a Greek word. This Greek word is translated as hell and is used only once in Scripture. And the abyss, which means bottomless. The Roman mythology features a similar place called Orcus, a very deep gulf or chasm in the lowest parts of the earth, used as the common receptacle of the dead, and especially as an abode of demons. The bottomless pit of chapter 9 of Revelation holds a unique type of demon. It is also the home of the beast who makes war against the two witnesses. Revelation 11:7-8. So is that this beast? Is that the Antichrist? And the special type of unique type of demon are the locusts, with the faces and the tails, and we saw what they looked like. At the beginning of the millennial kingdom, the bottomless pit is the place where Satan is bound. At the end of the 1,000 years, Satan is released and promptly leads an unsuccessful revolt against God. And when they have finished their testimony, the beast that rises from the bottomless pit will make war on them and conquer and kill them. And their dead bodies will lie in the street of the great city that symbolically is called Sodom and Egypt, where their Lord was crucified. I wonder if that's the same beast here. The beast is not an ordinary man. He is called the beast that ascends out of the bottomless pit. And ordinary men do not come from there. One who hails from that place must either be a dead man brought up again from the dead, or some evil spirit which takes possession of a living man. And that, in either case, the beast, as a person, is an extraordinary and supernatural being. It may be that Satan himself takes possession of this man, and this is what makes him exceptional. This was the case with Judas, who was possessed by Satan. And I don't think he was literally possessed by Satan. I think he just allowed Satan to work through him. He did evil. Where does evil come from? Satan. Now after the piece of bread, Satan entered him. Then Jesus said to him, "What you do, do quickly." Does that mean Satan literally entered him, or does that mean he allowed evil thoughts in his mind? Out one of his heads, as if it had been mortally wounded. This is a head wound, a mortal wound, not a superficial injury. Perhaps it is the result of God's judgment against the beast. And his deadly wound was healed. The recovery of the beast increases his fame and authority. I was just thinking in Genesis, the serpent, but this is not the serpent. This is not the serpent. The serpent would have been the previous one. I was just thinking in Genesis, with the heel on the serpent. And his deadly wound was healed. The recovery of the beast increases his fame and authority. All the world marveled and followed the beast. Twice later, this recovery is mentioned in connection to the world's worship and devotion to the beast. Some who see the beast not as a man, but as a government, see this as the revival of the Roman Empire, fulfilling Daniel 7. From this perspective, the Roman Empire has been dead, but will be again revived, and the world will marvel. Yet the most natural way to understand John's words in Revelation 13 make us believe that he is speaking of a man who will be mortally wounded, then healed. Yes. Okay, yes, that is the natural way to read it. But also, the natural way to read what we were reading prior is that there's a beast that's going to come out of the water that looks like a leopard with 10 heads and 10 horns, or 7 heads, 10 horns, and 10 crowns. That's the natural way to read that. So, are we going to take that literally? Are we going to take this literally? What can we take literally? What can we take figuratively? That is the question. Yet the most natural way to understand John's words in Revelation 13 make us believe that he speaks of a man who will be mortally wounded and then healed. The man will lead a revived Roman Empire, and his personality will dominate it. yet he and the Roman Empire are not exactly the same. This is truly an antichrist who even imitates Jesus in his death and resurrection. The world will believe this, and it will add tremendously to his fame and power. Okay, see, I get that, but see, then he's healing himself, right? So Jesus healed others, he's healing himself. Like I said, it was like a selfish act, and you could look at that as like that's an anti-Christ behavior as well. Aaron, how are you doing? This is a religious political power coming out of the water. Water symbolic of people. Okay, we saw in this commentary, they thought coming out of the water symbolized coming out of a chaotic or resistive environment. Let me see if because they believed, where did it say that? Many people today love the sea, but as the whole, the Jewish people in biblical times regarded the sea as a wild, untamed, frightening place. While ancient Israel under Solomon had a navy, Hiram, the king of Tyre, supplied sailors. What you're saying coming out of people also makes sense because we were talking about Revelation 12, how that had a view of heaven, and that was talking about Satan, a celestial heavenly being. And then now, if the sea is coming from a symbolic of people, like the sea, multitudes, a whole bunch of people, that makes sense as well, right? Because these would be earthly kingdoms. I really have to make multiple videos on Revelation. Well, I have to make multiple videos throughout all the reading that we've been doing, but especially Revelation. There's so much that there's so many different interpretations, which requires multiple different ways of looking at the same text. And that makes it interesting, but that also makes it hard to understand because, the reason why there's so many different interpretations is because it's hard to understand. But there, in fact, does have to be one true interpretation, right? I would imagine so.
To the beast, and they worshipped the beast.
Who is like the beast? Who is able to make war with him?
And he was given a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies.
This also reminds me of Job, the Leviathan from the sea. This is a beast from the sea. They don't look alike at all. Well, actually, do we know what the Leviathan looked like? I don't remember. But nobody could fight the Leviathan in Job, right? That's what it was. It was this all-powerful earthly beast from the deep. And the only one who could face it was God.
Speaking great.
You are right, an earthly kingdom which is now exercising political powers. Okay. So do you think the beast itself is a political power? An earthly kingdom? Or do you think it is an individual? And also, do you think this beast is referring to the Antichrist? Because I guess you could break it up. Most people, it seems like these commentaries, most people are thinking that the beast in Revelation 13 is the Antichrist. and therefore it is most likely an individual. But if you look at the beast as not the Antichrist, I don't know if you can do that, and view it as a kingdom or a group of political powers. I would imagine that they have people who break up the three, this beast, the Antichrist, and not the three, the two, the beast and the Antichrist. Revelation is here using symbolic language in referring to the beast. It being a political power makes sense because a beast from the sea really reminds me of Daniel's vision, and those were political powers, those were kingdoms. And with that ideology, with the beast, in that case, if the beast is a political power in Revelation 13, would the beast in this case be talking about the Antichrist as well? And following that line of thinking, the Antichrist is not an individual, it is a political power. Okay, so the beast is not just an individual but a power. So do you think the beast is the Antichrist, and therefore the Antichrist is not an individual? Because, this commentary did bring up a good point, saying that they worshipped him, made an image of him, and that's something you would do with an individual and not really a political power. But that's, again, speculation. You could still create an image of a political power, like the symbol of that nation, and you could still worship that, like I was mentioning. An extreme form of patriotism and nationalism, maybe. Antichrist would be seen as something which is closest to the original, a very look-like kind to the original, like a counterfeit. Yeah, that's similar to what this commentary was saying as well. Like the Antichrist could be an opposite Messiah or an instead of Messiah. This commentary is leading towards the idea of an instead of Messiah. So not really, it's going to do exactly the opposite of what Jesus would do, but more so the idea of it will try to take the place of the Messiah. We could spend hours talking about this. I got to do separate videos and maybe look at other opinions, try and maybe read it over multiple times, see what I think. And we can talk further because it's a lot.
And he was given a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and he was given authority to continue for 42 months. Then he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God.
42 months. We saw that 42 months prior, right? Revelation 13, but we saw it earlier, I thought, right? 40. In Revelation 13, John records a vision of a beast with 10 horns and 7 heads. According to Revelation 13:5, we're not doing 14 today. No way. Let me take that off. See, I was being greedy. Thought we could do. I was being too optimistic. We're doing only 13 today. That's it. In Revelation 13, John records a vision of a beast with 10 horns and 7 heads. According to Revelation 13:5, the beast will be given authority for 42 months, 3.5 years. Oh, okay. The 3.5 years, time, times, and half a time, the 1,260 days. Okay. So while the two witnesses are prophesying, this beast will have authority over the whole earth. Earlier in the book of Revelation, John recorded someone saying that the holy city, Jerusalem, would be trampled underfoot by the nations for 42 months. The true prophets of God would prophesy for 1,260 days, also equal to 42 months, and on the 360-day lunar calendar that Israel used. Hey, Ricky, how's it going? 10 Commandments with the wrong interpretation. Boom. What do you mean by that, Ricky? The significance of 42 months in Revelation 13:5 and other passages in Revelation is first explained in Daniel 9 and then again in Matthew 24. In Daniel 9, Daniel is reading scripture and praying that God will restore Israel from captivity according to what God had promised. Even while Daniel was speaking, God sent the angel Gabriel to reassure Daniel that God would keep his word and would not forsake Israel. Gabriel explained that there would be a prophetic calendar of 70 seasons or 490 years. The calendar would commence with a decree to rebuild the city of Jerusalem. That decree was recorded in Nehemiah 2:8. You see what I'm saying? We talked about this yesterday, where it's a lot of connecting the dots. We're jumping from Daniel to Nehemiah, Revelation. After 69 sevens or 483 years from that decree, the Messiah would be cut off, and the people of the prince to come would destroy the city and the temple. Just as Gabriel said, the Messiah was crucified after 483 years. And a few decades after that, the Romans destroyed the temple and the city of Jerusalem in AD 70. From that point to the end or completion, I need a timeline, man. I got to do another video on this and break down a timeline so we can have a visual aid. I mean, I did pull up a timeline, but in yesterday's stream, or was it the day before yesterday? But it's going to take time to go through it. Just as Gabriel said, the Messiah had crucified after the 483 years, and a few decades after that, the Romans destroyed the temple and the city of Jerusalem. From that point to the end or completion, there would be wars and desolations. It seems that the 490-year calendar is paused during this time. The calendar will restart with the Roman prince making a covenant with the many, often a reference in Hebrew prophecy to Israel, for 7 or 7 years. In the middle of that time period, the prince will break his covenant. That will leave 42 months of desolation to complete the prophetic calendar. The last 42 months or 3.5 years will be dominated by one who makes desolate. At the end of that time, he is made desolate himself. I gotta be honest, I'm a bit lost. I'm gonna have to go back to Daniel. We gotta do a comparative study of Daniel and Revelation. We have to. Let me look at chat here real quick. Ron saying Daniel 7 also has these beasts come out of the water. You have a hint there regarding the beast of Daniel 13, right? Yeah, that's why I was thinking. I mean, that's why I would imagine it is like how you're saying. It is a beast of the earth, unlike Revelation 12. Ricky's saying, the city is the light, the true interpretation, the temple is in us. Know ye not that ye are the temple of God, and that the Spirit of God dwelleth in you. Revelation 21:22, and I saw no temple therein, the Lord God Almighty and the Lamb are the temple in it. We'll get to Revelation 21. Daniel 7:25, the time period. Keep it New King James for consistency's sake. He shall speak pompous words against the Most High, shall persecute the saints of the Most High, shall intend to change times and law. Then the saints shall be given into his hand for a time, times and half time. There we go, the 3.5 years. Hey Joel, thank you for the heart. Appreciate the love. This is tough, man. I need like a visual aid here. I need a visual aid breaking down the timeline set in Daniel and in Revelation. Let's keep going here because I got to do a complete separate video on that. Cuz that's going to be a lot. That's going to take time.
Then he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name, his tabernacle, and those who dwell in heaven. It was granted to him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And authority was given him over every tribe, tongue, and nation. All who dwell on the earth will worship him, whose names have not been written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world.
Wait. Okay, so it was then he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name, his tabernacle, and those who dwell in heaven. It was granted to him to make war with the saints and to overcome them, and authority was given him over every tribe, tongue, and nation. Authority was given to him by who? As people worshiped this beast and bowed down, he was allowed to exercise his authority. But it says he was given authority. Is that just showcasing the position that he is in? And not really, he was personally given authority? Like, did Satan give authority to him? Whoa. So they worship the dragon. Okay, they worship the dragon who gave authority to the beast. So Satan gave authority to, what verse was that? 4? 13:4. So they worship the dragon who gave authority to the beast. And they worship the beast, saying, who is like the beast, who is able to make war with him? Okay.
And those who dwell in heaven. It was granted to him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And authority was given him over every tribe, tongue, and nation. All who dwell on the earth will worship him, whose names have not been written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world.
Okay, the book of life. What is the name of the book where your names are being like your name is already written and your name is being crossed out? This is talking about a book, the book of life, where your name is not even written in as of yet. The book of life contains the names of all God's redeemed. The idea is that worshiping the beast and having your name in the book of life are mutually exclusive. The idea is that worshiping the beast and having your name in the book of life are mutually exclusive. I think they misspoke there. The idea of will worship him. They'll worship him whose names have not been written in the book of life. No, not the movie, The Book of Life. Isn't there another book, or am I mistaken? A book where our names are written and it's going to be crossed out. This seems to be a book where names are being written in, unless I'm not remembering correctly. Those who worship the beast will not have their names in the book of life. Okay. Let's see. God names crossed out. I don't know if that's going to... Yeah, that's a horrible search. I don't know. Book names blotted out of the book of life. Okay, it's the same book of life. Psalm 69 includes a shocking request that might make one wonder if names can be blotted out of the book of life. It was not just Psalms, though, wasn't it? It was in fact, Jesus says he will not erase the names of those who are written in the book, who have overcome because he has overcome. So if your name is in the book, you're fine. I don't know why I remember somewhere where a name was crossed out. In Psalm 69, the judgments that David requests for those who are trying to destroy him are indeed severe, even to the point of blotting out names from the book of life. Let them be blotted out of the book of life. Let them not be enrolled among the righteous. Okay, there we go. It's in Psalm 69. So they're blotted out from the book of life. But then here, the one who conquers will be clothed thus in white garments, and I will never blot his name out of the book of life. I will confess his name before my Father and before his angels. Okay, so that's not saying that names cannot be blotted out. So names can be blotted. Okay, so it was just my confusion. There we go.
From the foundation of the world. If anyone has an ear, let him hear. He who leads into captivity shall go into captivity. He who kills with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. Then I saw another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb and spoke like a dragon. And he exercises all the authority of the...
Okay. So now what's the significance between the beast of the sea and the beast of the earth?
And he exercises all...
Because now the importance of the interpretation of the sea and earth are going to be important.
Coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb and spoke like a dragon. And he exercises all the authority of the first beast in his presence, and causes the earth and those who dwell in it to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. He performs great signs, so that he even makes...
Yeah, so who's this beast? Which one is the Antichrist? This one or the previous one? We know the dragon from 12 is Satan.
Fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. And he deceives those who dwell on the earth by those signs which he was granted to do in the sight of the beast, telling those who dwell on the earth to make an image to the beast who was wounded by the sword and lived. He was granted power to give breath to the image of the beast.
Okay, so the
image of the beast
wound was caused by a
speak
sword.
and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast.
Or not necessarily a sword. It could. I mean, we could not. You don't have to take it literally, but you could take it. He was wounded in some sort of battle or conflict.
Power to give breath to the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast to be killed. He causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads, that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man. His number is 666.
I guess I don't have understanding because I don't know. I don't know how to calculate the number. I've heard that some people think that the Antichrist was Nero. I've heard that, and I've heard the you could somehow, the letters of Nero somehow equate to 666 or something like that. I've heard that it is not an actual physical mark on the hand or the forehead. It's more of a spiritual mark, similar to how God is going to mark our foreheads. But let's back up a bit. And let's talk about this other beast. This creature represents someone like the beast rising from the sea, because the same word beast is used to describe them both. At the same time, this beast is different. Well, we don't know if it's physically the same. We don't know if it's the same, right? It didn't give that much of a description. I mean, you look at the beasts on Daniel, they're pretty different from one another. They are different in origin because one comes out of the sea, one comes out of the earth. They are different in rank because the second is subordinate to the first. They are different in appearance because the second has a mild lamb-like appearance. And he had 2 horns like a lamb. The 2 horns may express the fact that this beast has authority in 2 realms, such as a religious and political authority. That's interesting if we're going with lamb symbolism here. Or he may have 2 horns simply because that's how many horns lambs have. Okay. Spoke like a dragon. What does that even mean? Despite his lamb-like appearance, the message of the second beast is the same as the message of the first beast. The second beast is called the false prophet. Makes sense? You're coming in the image of a lamb, and you're speaking like the dragon. This sounds like an antichrist, as someone distinct from the first beast, the Antichrist, and the dragon, Satan. Is this like so is the first beast the Antichrist, or is this the Antichrist? This is like an evil trinity. With the dragon, the beast rising from the sea, and the beast rising from the land, we have they say it. We have an unholy trinity. The dragon is the anti-father. The beast rising from the sea is the Antichrist, and the beast rising from the land is the anti-Holy Spirit. That's interesting. That's interesting. He exercises all the authority of the first beast. The beast rising from the earth is essentially a satanic prophet who leads the world to worship the beast and the dragon. So, why would the first beast, if that's the Antichrist, why would that be why would you need that individual and then this second beast being an individual? So the idea of that first beast that we talked about in 13 today from the sea being a kingdom makes a bit more sense. Because then you have Satan, then you have like this kingdom, and then you have this individual who is working for that. Because why? Yeah, why would you need two individuals? The beast rising from the earth is essentially a satanic prophet who leads the world to worship the beast and the dragon. But see, I'm speaking out of ignorance. I'm gonna have to do a whole lot more studying. I'm just saying what I'm thinking right now. It may seem fantastic to some that the world will be led into worship of a man and of the devil, but by nature, men have an undeniable religious impulse, and they also have an undeniable rebellion against God. What men want most is not the elimination of religion, but their own religion. We're seeing that today. We're seeing that already. We're seeing a lot of atheists who are rejecting God, creating their own religion. It may not be in a traditional sense, but it is definitely a religion. And a religion of their own. That too. A selfish way of thinking. They're looking inwardly. They say they want the kingdom, but they don't want God in it. He performs great signs. The beast rising from the sea has the signs and wonders to back up his false teaching. A specific miracle of the false prophet is described. He makes fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. It is important that John highlights this miracle. In the eyes of the deceived world, it answers the miracle of the two witnesses who ministered during this period and are persecuted by the Antichrist and his false prophet to the deceived world. This also puts this false prophet in the class of Elijah. We can imagine the false prophet as saying, "Let the true God answer with fire," and then performing his deceptive wonder. Yeah. There is a supernatural power which is against God and truth, as well as one for God and truth. A miracle, simply as a work of wonder, is not necessarily of God. That's correct, which is why we need to be able to discern the two. An issue that we saw was prevalent when Jesus was on the earth. There has always been a devilish supernaturalism in the world, running alongside of the supernaturalism of divine grace and salvation. In the days of the Exodus, Aaron performed miracles and up to a point was matched miracle for miracle by the magicians of Egypt. In Deuteronomy 13, God assumes there will be supernatural works on behalf of false prophets and idols, and he warns his people to judge a worker of miracles by their message, not by their works. That's important. Jesus said that some who works miracles, even in his name, were false followers and would perish in hell. Many will say to me in that day, "Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in your name, cast out demons in your name, and done many wonders in your name?" And then I will declare to them, "I never knew you. Depart from me. You practice lawlessness." Bang. How did we touch on this? How were they able to do these things if not through God, through Jesus? Maybe that's another thing we can look into. I can't. We don't have time to delve into that right now. Paul said the Antichrist will come with all power, signs, and lying wonders. Knowing all this, the emphasis on signs and wonders among some Christians is frightening. Some Christians say or think you can really know where God is and where he is by his signs and wonders. This is why Jesus was upset with, not upset, well, I guess he was upset by the idea that people were following him for his miracles. It came to the point where People were saying, "Whoa, look what you did. I'm going to follow you. I'm curious, see what you're doing." And they kept asking him, "Hey, do this. I want to see that. Prove who you are." And Jesus didn't like that, because you're not supposed to follow him for the spectacle, right? Because if you're following those disciples who followed Jesus just for the mere spectacle, after a while that spectacle wore off and they wanted to see something else. There was no foundation in their belief, so they left after some time. In the same way, you shouldn't follow for the signs and the wonders and the spectacle. You're missing the bigger picture then, right? Yeah, those things are flashy and they'll grab your attention, but it's the relationship with Jesus that should be the foundation of your belief system. So just because you're seeing someone do these signs and wonders, that shouldn't be the indicator of, hey, he's doing signs and wonders, he must be Jesus or God or something. You'll be deceived in that case, And so it's a similar situation when Jesus was on the earth, right? They saw that Jesus was doing signs and wonders. Some people followed him because he was doing signs and wonders. Some people didn't. Some people ignored. Some people thought that maybe he was working via the power of Satan. But you needed to have a relationship with God in order to be able to recognize who Jesus was. In the same way here, you need to have a relationship with him so when the second coming occurs, you'll be able to recognize. You won't be deceived with, hey, look, the Antichrist or this other beast, this prophet, evil prophet is doing signs or wonders or whatever. You need to have that personal relationship in order to recognize who Jesus is. Thinking this way is to leave yourself wide open to the deception. Years ago, there was a large multi-denominational conference of people who thought this way, and their slogan on a huge banner over the conference platform read, "Unity under signs and wonders." Yikes. That's a unity that Satan, the Antichrist, and the false prophet could all join in. Signs and wonders will be present among Christians, but the real marks of God's work are love and truth. And you'll only be able to recognize love through a relationship. And you'll only be able to recognize truth after hearing it for some time in order to recognize it, He was granted the power to give breath to the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast to be killed. Okay, that's really interesting. The beast rising from the earth will use a deceptive animated image as the focus point of the worship of the beast. That's that interpretation there. Giving breath to the image of the beast, right? Because it's just an image. I don't know how to interpret that. It may seem strange to us to have the whole world give this kind of worship to the image of a man, but the personality cults of totalitarian governments in the 20th century are a good example of this kind of worship. All we have to do is remember totalitarian states like the Soviet Union or Communist China and their omnipresent pictures of Stalin and Mao, and we see a pattern that will be ultimately fulfilled by the Antichrist. The image of the beast in an anime is animated in some way, in that it has breath and can speak. Whether the image is animated supernaturally or technologically, the result will be impressive. The psalmist mocked idol worshippers because the idols of the heathen are silver and gold, the work of men's hands. They have mouths, but they speak not. Eyes have they, but they see not. This image of the Antichrist will be a different kind of idol, because the image of the beast should both speak and cause as many as would not worship the image of the beast to be killed. Wow. The idolatrous image is what Jesus, Daniel, and Paul spoke of as the abomination of desolation. It is an idolatrous image set up in the holy place of a rebuilt temple. It is an abomination to the sense of being supreme idolatry, and it is desolation in the sense that it will bring the judgment described by the seals and trumpets. This is a summation of the power of the Antichrist, whose authority ends after 42 months. So the Antichrist's authority will end after 42 months. This marks the halfway point of the final 7 years of man's rule on this planet. The Antichrist's power ends as soon as it peaks. Let's jump to the mark of the beast. He causes all to receive a mark. Under the government of the beast and his associate, all will be given a mark. Without the mark, one will not be able to participate in the economy. No one may buy or sell except one who has the mark of his name. A lot of people were thinking it's those vaccine passports if they were going to go with that. I mean, they sort of did, but then they sort of stopped it. Since the ancient Greek word for mark, charagma, isn't generally applied to people, some have taken this as a symbolic mark. But a literal mark needed to buy or sell is certainly conceivable and practical. And that's where the idea of, having like a microchip under your skin or your arm or something, that's where people get that idea from. The technology to give people a mark that enables them to buy or sell in the electronic economy is available. There are many different ways it could happen, and such programs are proposed and tested constantly. A mark on their right hand or their foreheads. Satan is not a creative being. All he can do is imitate God. We are not surprised to find that this too is a satanic parody of something God will do. It imitates God's mark upon people in Revelation 7, 3-4. The number of his name. This was a common concept in the ancient world. In Greek and Hebrew as well, letters were assigned a numerical value, such as A equaling 1, B equaling 2, and so forth. For example, graffiti in the ruins of Pompeii reads, "I love her whose number is 545. I've never heard that. Okay, so his number is 666. Does this tell us who the beast is by figuring out the numerical value of a name and seeing if it adds up to 666? I've heard that 666 is a number for man, right? Because 7 is a number for perfection, and it is 1 less than that. And the 3, it's mocking God because of the 3. It's like a trinity of man. Using this method, many candidates for the Antichrist have been suggested, such as the Pope or the Papacy, John Knox, Martin Luther, Napoleon, Hitler, Mussolini, Stalin, and so forth. Well, if we are having a numerical value of 666, how can it be so many different people? But the schemes for unlocking the number of the beast are confusing as they are endless. That is 12, the square root of 144, is God's number. So 25 is the square root of the Antichrist number 666. And by the enigmatical expression, we are taught that Antichrist should be a political body that should as much affect the number 25 as God seemeth to have his church affected the number 12. This is so much to delve into that I'm not going to delve into today because it's going to take quite a long time, and we're already an hour and 30. So I'm just going to run through this and then we'll stop, and we'll definitely talk about this at a later date. The year of Rome's ruin is by some held to be 1666. It is plain, saith one, Satan shall be tied up 1,000 years. 666 is the number of the beast. Antichrist shall so long reign. These two together make just make the just number. Okay. Here's a solution to the mystery. Everybody seems to have the answer. Let him that hath a mind for investigations of this kind find out a kingdom which contains precisely the number 666, for this must be infallibly the name of the beast. H. Latin Basileia, the Latin kingdom, has exclusively this number. Some commentators observe, I don't know anything about that. Some commentators observe that there are 6 Roman numerals. If you add them all up, you get 666. Some take this to say that the Antichrist will be a Roman. Or they point out that all the numbers from 1 to 36 add up to 666. Beast in the evil sense appears 36 times in the Bible. Okay. This is all interesting. But how much can we take as coincidence? How much can we take as, the Bible is written through divine revelation, and that's why these numbers are adding up? And then what about when this was written, there were books that the Jews had that are now part of the Apocrypha. Are we taking that into account as well? I don't think so. I don't think we're taking that into account with these additions here. It is the number of man. One persistent opinion, especially in the early church, was that the number identified the Antichrist with Caesar Nero. But to make the name Caesar Nero fit, one must take a variant spelling of the Greek form of a Latin name, transliterated into Hebrew characters. It is the number of a man. The letters of Jesus in Greek add up to 888. 666 may be a satanic counterpart to the name of Jesus. Or 666 may be God's evaluation of such a satanic counterpart. It falls short. As compared to the number 888, the number 666 may signify an unholy trinity. I've heard this, but remember I said I thought it was because 777, 666. I never heard the 888. It may be a human and demonic imitation of God, inherently falling short of the perfect and true. 7 is the number of completion and totality. 6 doesn't quite make it. His number is 666, or the number of 666 may hearken back to Solomon's wages. 1 Kings 10:14 says that Solomon received yearly 666 talents of gold. Perhaps this suggests that the Antichrist, like Solomon, is a good man who becomes corrupted. Modern interpretations of the idea of the Antichrist are full of the idea of some demon-like child. Okay, we don't have to go into the movie stuff. I've never seen The Omen, so... His number is 666. Christians do not need not fear the number 666 in a superstitious way. I've heard that. I've heard people fear the number of 666. Like people won't want to stay in a hotel room with the number 666. It's just a number. But it is interesting to see that the way the world has an attachment to the number, even with things like 666 brand cough syrup. Never heard that. Okay, I gotta stop here. I know it's very anticlimactic. Whole bunch of questions, not enough answers, so many interpretations, no decisive no decisive interpretation. So we'll definitely come back and look into all of this, into Revelation further. It just sucks that it takes so long to go through because it's filled with symbolism and filled with so much imagery that relies on interpretation and that relies on references to other texts, that it takes so long to go through. But then also at the same time, I don't know if I am extracting the accurate meaning, which is why I'm relying so much on commentary, because I don't have enough time as we're going through it to analyze for myself, and I don't have enough background information to analyze for myself. So that's why I feel like separate videos breaking down Revelation is the best way to do it. Right now the whole goal is to make our way through the Bible, but in order to get a deeper, proper, true understanding to the best that we can of Revelation, it deserves its own time each topic deserves its own time, own separate video to go through and break down and try and understand. And then maybe we can somehow piece together all the pieces of the puzzle and try and come to a cohesive image of what is being said here. And that is even being optimistic. But I'm going to have to stop it here. Thank you, everyone, for taking part in the chat and for sticking all the way through to the end. We'll dive into chapter 14 tomorrow. But I was expecting to get through 13 and 14 today, but 13 took so long, and I feel like I've left this unfinished because I'm leaving it. I'm not in a full understanding of what was said, so I feel like I'm leaving it unfinished, which is not satisfying at all. But like I said, we'll dive back into Revelation for sure, 100% in future videos, discussing each individual topic in greater detail, because we'll be able to break it down into smaller segments. But that's going to be it for today. Again, thank you for sticking all the way through to the end, taking part in the chat. I appreciate it. It's really fun doing these Bible studies, and the more people who take part in the chat and that we can, talk, and I can get information from, and maybe I don't even, it's a Bible study, right? We go back and forth, so that makes it fun and interesting. But that's going to be it for today. Tomorrow we'll jump into 14. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow as we continue our journey through the book of Revelation. All right? Take care. Bye-bye.